Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Going to be going over some things I found in May of 2023. These are all going to be from Massachusetts. And this is going to be kind of a longer video, but I will do my best to speed through this. So we're going to start out with some hawks that I've seen recently. This first one's going to be a Cooper's hawk. These appear to be in some kind of mating behavior. There were two of them that were clearly interacting with each other. So it's pretty cool. I like Cooper's hawks. I like basically all of those kind of forest hawk species. This next one, I'm going to call it a hawk with a bad haircut. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know what that is offhand. I only got a quick look at it. And then we're going to take a look at a red-tailed hawk, which is probably the most common hawk I see. Also, I've seen some owls, barred owls, and then this one is a great horned owl that I got a good clear shot of. I love owls. I never get tired of seeing them, so every owl is a welcome owl. And the great horned owl is probably my favorite. The one I don't see that I really like is a screech owl. That one I think is more nocturnal than the others, and so I don't see many of those, and I don't have a picture of one here to show you. Next thing is some vernal pools. This one here is one I've visited a couple of times, has a lot of newts in it, and also spotted salamanders. There's a big log going into the lake, and just under that log I found the spotted salamanders as they were leaving after they'd already laid their eggs. And that's a pretty common way I find spotted salamanders. If there's a fairly thick log, I mean, be careful, don't try to lift one that's too heavy and you drop it on them. But if there's a log that's fairly decent size, going into a vernal pool or small woodland pond, but yet manageable where you can easily lift it and move them out of the way and lower it back down when you're done so that they can get safely back under it, then that is a good place to look for spotted salamanders. See a lot of newts in this area, tons of newts everywhere I go, and yeah, those sometimes it's even hard to walk and look for mammals because I gotta look down and make sure I'm not stepping on any of these red Fs, which is the sort of the terrestrial phase of the eastern newt before it returns back to the water as an adult. So this animal here is the red phase of the redback salamander. Now, Dick Bartlett had written about a location in Massachusetts where he found these as a child. And I had also went to that location to see them because I think they're just a really cool phase of that common species. But this is actually a secondary location, quite a ways away, probably, an hour or more away. From that location that also has these red phase animals. And so I was happy to see those there. I found a couple of them, and here's a picture of one of them. The next animal we're going to talk about is the wood turtle, which is one of the species of greatest conservation need according to the Department of Massachusetts Wildlife. And, I'm not an expert on this species, so I don't know exactly what all habitats it utilizes, but I know where I find it at. And where I find it at is in grassy fields, so vegetated fields that have an open nature that are next to, small to medium-sized streams. So something bigger, it's definitely bigger than a trickle. I mean, these are like actual, I guess you would call it maybe like a creek or something like that, but something smaller than a river and next to highly vegetated areas. Now, I found them in multiple locations that have this characteristic, and there's usually some matted down vegetation, tall grass type structures with some of it being matted down. I have a lot of luck finding them in that location. If I go there in the spring, I almost always find one if I search that location thoroughly. And yeah, they're a really cool turtle. I really like them a lot. They don't really tend to try to escape when I see them. They pretty much just sit there, and I'm able to enjoy viewing them. And of course, being a species of great conservation concern, I don't move them. I don't really touch them unless they're in danger of being run over by a car or something. Which, fortunately, the ones I've been finding are away from the road, so I haven't needed to take any of those actions. But they're a really cool turtle. And I don't think they have, a tremendous amount of habitat in Massachusetts that really looks ideal. But the good news is in the habitat that does look ideal, or at least ideally for me to be able to find them, they do seem to be persistently present in those environments. So I'm walking along the stream looking for wood turtles. paying attention more to the water, and I look to my right here. I see this wood turtle. It's exactly the kind of habitat I would expect to find them in. A stream. Let me zoom out here so you can see it. But a stream, lots of open land, vegetation, fairly clear stream. This is a good area for me to find them. This is typically the type of, this is the first one I found here, but I found them other places. It's going to be hard to see, but there's a spring salamander right there. You see how big his tail is? I mean, even a dusky salamander is nowhere near that size, and there's part of his body. How well you can see it. It's moving now. See the back legs of him right there. See a spring salamander. Now he's kind of backing up. Going underneath that piece there to try to hide. He's going to hide underneath that little rock there. Hopefully he's not going to burrow down. I'm just going to let that water clear for a minute. Oh, there's his head. Here's a dusky salamander. This gets a darker color, and it's not as large. But it lives in the same habitat. I suspect the spring salamanders may even be eating them. So this is a cool den I found. I believe it's a porcupine den. You can see the feces are just massively overflowing out of it, and they're flowing all the way down into a stream. So there's even more you can really see in this photo just how huge the pile of feces coming out of this was. And I've read that porcupines often live under these conditions, so I'm believing that's what it was. It also looked like pretty good porcupine habitat. This is a pretty little milk snake, eastern milk snake. He's hiding under a rock. I'll show the rock in a moment. I'm gonna grab some video of him here and I'll zoom out. And he's hiding underneath this rock, which is a great way to find them. But if you're lifting rocks, make sure you lift it all the way over and then pull them out and let them crawl back under the rock on their own so they don't smash them. If you try to lift too heavy of a rock, you'll more than likely drop it on them and be worse than if you just didn't find them at all. Here's another one I found underneath a piece of plywood. The eastern milk snake's pretty common anywhere there's some open areas. You can find them under boards and logs and things in open fields. Anywhere there's like stone walls and things that have an open exposure, you can find them there. It doesn't matter. Even if it's in a forest, if there's a rock wall that's exposed, it's still a good place to find them. They'll live in small pockets of exposed area, even in the woods. And of course, garter snakes are common pretty much everywhere, especially anywhere where there's moisture and amphibians. Here's one I found underneath a piece of metal, followed by some I found under rocks, smooth, flat rocks, pieces of metal, boards, or even out on the crawl. Or you see garter snakes just about everywhere. And then the other thing I found are some ringneck snakes, which are pretty common also. Same type of habitat that you can find in milk snakes, basically flat stones, anything where there's some exposure. Again, ringneck snakes can live in fairly wooded areas, but I find they really gravitate to those exposed areas with stones and things to hide under, where they can get some sun exposure indirectly. And one of the flowers I really like finding in, well, basically I know anywhere in western Massachusetts. I don't spend much time in eastern Massachusetts to know, but in western Massachusetts, for sure, there's azaleas are really common in the woods. So if you go out in May in the woods, you can expect to see just lots of azaleas everywhere, and clumps of them. I find them in swampier areas, wooded areas, just really find them everywhere. Also, while I was looking at those azaleas, I came across a trail and ran across a couple of moose. These are in the Quabbin area, which is one of the better areas to see moose. I will say, though, if you're looking for moose, go out early in the morning. I find they're just more likely to be out either early or nocturnal. And I'm not sure if the Quabbin Park even allows nocturnal access. They probably don't. So early morning, as early as you can get up, would be the time to see them.